Hello guys, welcome back to the Crafty channel. So today we are going to be learning how to cut and sew this trending exaggerated puffy sleeve you see on the screen, and it's very big sleeve. If you want to know how to make this beautiful sleeve, please continue watching this video to the end for more understanding. If you are viewing us for the first time, kindly subscribe to this lovely family and also click on the notification bell icon to be the first to be notified whenever I upload a new video. So without wasting much of your time, let's get on with the video. So to create this exaggerated puffy sleeves, you need a ruler, a measuring tape, scissors, a chalk. I'm using pencil because I want the markings to be visible so that you guys can see it well. So, but please, if you are sewing it for a client, don't use pencil. Please just use tailoring chalk or any pen for fabric. So I'll be using this fabric for this sleeve, and I'll be cutting the lining and the main sleeve with the same fabric. As you can see, it's transparent. I'll be using this fabric to line inside both the lining and the main fabric because it's transparent. And I'll be using interfacing to give that stability to the sleeve. And also, I'll be adding a boning that will give the sleeve the structure to stand well. This is plastic one. I'm not using the plastic one. I'll be using this regiling boning. You can sew on this boning. So let's get on with the video. So to create this sleeve, you need to know how to draft your basic sleeve pattern, which I have on my channel. I'll be leaving the link in the description box if you want to check it out. So I have my basic sleeve pattern here, and you should know the length you are taking for the sleeve and then the wideness of the sleeve. So I'll be using this basic sleeve pattern. So you place it on the fabric. I folded the fabric into 4. I'm cutting both the main sleeve and the lining. I'm going to hold it down with a pin. So I'm using 16 inches for the length. So on the top of the sleeve pattern here, you are going to take your measuring tape and measure from the top to where the 16 inches is. So I'm going to roll the line straight. So I'll be marking 16 inches across this side. So I mark 16 inches. That's the length I want for the sleeve. And the wideness, I'm adding 3.5 inches to my basic sleeve pattern. 3.5 inches here. So in all, it's 12.5 inches. 12 for the wideness and then half an inch for the sewing allowance. And when I come up here, I'll mark the same 12.5 inches. So that means 12.5 inches for the wideness and then 16 inches for the length. So I'll mark it all the way down and then I'll roll it with my ruler. So on the top of the sleeve, that's on the tip, I'll be going up by 3.5 inches, 3 inches, but half inches for sewing allowance. Why I went up by 3.5? Because you need some gathering on top of the sleeve to gather it a bit. So I have to add more inches up to get the gathers. So you connect the line like so. You connect to meet this point. Then you continue with it. Hope you get me right. Because there's some pleats or gathers on top of the sleeve, we need to add more allowance to get that pleat when sewing the sleeve. So this is what I added here, and then you connect it to this point, then you connect it to here. So now I'm going to cut it out. So guys, I finished cutting it, and I'm going to open it for you guys to see. So this is our sleeve. So that this for both the main sleeve and the lining. And I'm going to cut this fabric to line inside. So I'm going to cut this lining for both. So next, I'll be placing the main sleeve on this fabric to cut both for the sleeve and also for the lining. So I'm holding it with my sewing pins because the fabric is moving a lot. Then I cut the lining out. So I finished cutting the lining for each. So what you'll be doing is to place the fabric, the main fabric on it, like this. You are going to be holding the fabric on the lining with a stitch all around the main fabric to hold the lining to the main fabric. So I'll do it on this, and I also do it on the lining because we are using the same fabric for the lining. So I'm going to my machine to sew it and come back and show you the next step. So I'm done sewing the lining on the main fabric and also on the lining. As already said, I'm using the same fabric for the lining and also the same fabric for the main one. So because the fabric is transparent, I have to sew lining inside. So I've done so. This is it. And I've already went ahead and cut out the interfacing for the lining. So I'm using one for the main fabric. I put it aside, and this is for the lining. So I'm going to iron the interfacing on the lining, and then come back and show you the next step. So guys, I finished ironing the interfacing on the lining. This on the lining, the fabric is here. So I'm going to be using this regiling boning, and I'm going to sew it about 4 lines or more on the lining, not on the main fabric, on the lining, to give the sleeve that stability needed. I'll be marking 0.7 inches here. That's to turn the fabric. And on this side, I'll be leaving 1 inch for the sewing allowance. This for the side seam. And on this side too, I'll be marking 1 inch for the side seam allowance. So I'll be squaring it with a straight line. And I'm going to sew the boning up to somewhere here. You are not supposed to sew it here because here is going to be where you pleat for the shoulder. So from here, you can come down by 0.75. That's where the boning will get to. This side also you are marking 0.75. You connect the line straight. Let me show you, this is how you are going to sew the boning on top of the lining. You just have to leave allowance here for the sewing on the side seam. and this is for turning of the main fabric on the lining. You see the boning is in a curve. This is why you should pay attention. The boning is in a curve position like this. You are not going to sew the boning like this on the square side like this. If you sew it, when you finish, all the effects will go to the lining. It will not come towards the main fabric. So you are going to sew the boning like this on the opposite side like this. So when you finish, you see that the boning will jump up like this, and when you put the main fabric on top, it will raise it up. It will give that puffy effect. Now I'm going to see how many lines I'll do for the boning. I'll mark the line maybe 2.75. So I'm going to start the boning from this line. I'll sew one line here, I'll sew another one here, I'll sew it on the lines and end here. This fabric, because it's transparent, I double the facing on the lining, also on the inside lining. So, but if you are sewing this sleeve and you have a thick fabric, you can cut a lining for your main fabric, and then you use the second lining for the facing. I double all this because of my fabric was too transparent. So I'll be taking this to the sewing machine and sew the bones on the lines and come back and show you. So I've finished with the boning. This is how it looks. See the boning? So this is the good side. So I'm going to attach the main fabric to the lining. I'm going to place it on top of the lining and then use 1/2 inch to sew it along the edges, and then after I will top stitch it and come and show you the next step. So guys, this is after I attach the main fabric to the lining. I top stitch it inside on the edges. So next we are going to be joining the sides. We are going to be joining the sides with the 1 inch allowance I left. The 1 inch seam allowance from this point all the way to this end. So I'm taking it to my machine to sew it and come and show you. So after joining the sides, I went ahead and gave it a good press. So let me turn it inside out. We arrange the hemline well to align with the up. So this is our sleeve. Look how neat inside is. So the next thing to do is to give it a pleat on the up side like this, on the shoulder side. Either you pleat it this way, like a boss pleat, like this, and take it till you finish the pleating this on this side, or you can pleat it like this. You can start with the pleating like this. So anyone you feel like doing. So I'm going to pleat it and come and show you the final look. So I finished with the pleating. This is how the sleeve look like. You see how the bunny gave it that standing effect. Looking beautiful and nice. So guys, we have come to the end of today's tutorial. If this tutorial will be helpful to you and you find it interesting, please don't forget to give it a like, share to your family and friends, and also don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.